Except for Reese. Reese is like, nah, I ain't doing that. Oh, there we go.
Whack. Because he whack.
He just does. He's like, all right, I'll
Hey, I like
participate.
that intro.
That was
Y'all gonna make me dance. I guess I will.
Mike,
What's up, y'all?
Mike's mic on mute.
Hey, Fellows Forum, we back at it.
Fellas,
Glad to
Forum,
see
what's
y'all
up,
here.
fellas?
Mike,
Yeah.
unmute
What
yourself.
up?
Unmute yourself, Mike.
TJ ain't in the house today. He had to take care of some other business.
Right.
Delta should have
Probably
called
flipping
in.
a spoon somewhere.
Flipping the
Oh. He should have
What
called
up,
from his
people?
patrol car, man.
Right. How's it going, everybody? Another episode. Like I said, we're gonna try to come to you guys more often. We got my man. I don't know his name. Still looks weird right now. Who is that?
Oh man, I haven't fixed anyone's name. We're good. I guess I'll fix that later.
We got JQ,
Y'all?
Yeah.
Reese in the house,
What up, though?
Big Mike.
He's muted still. He doesn't even say anything. You're gonna have to.
Because his mic is
T
muted.
Wizzle. Better call
Turn
him
his
T
mic
Better
Wizzle.
back
call him
on.
T. Will.
T Wizzle. Man, now you're a candy game. Or a candy.
yeah.
Candy cane.
They like
Twizzler. I'm thinking Twizzler. T Wizzle. That
I
sounds
think
better.
a Twizzler.
that. Silky.
T Wizzle.
T Wizzle's like
He
the
said,
off-brand.
You say you a candy cane.
Yeah.
T Wizzle Fizzle.
T Wizzle. That's actually kind of fun. All right.
So we're gonna get into it, y'all.
First topic.
I mean, it's just been like, wow. Just a couple of days and a lot of things have changed even around here. A lot of people are going back to mandatory masks because things are getting hectic again out there in the streets. So,
Oh yeah.
and you know, I think with the way things are going, we're gonna have to slow it back down. If y'all ain't out there wearing y'all stuff like y'all supposed to be doing,
So
wanna
Colombia
think
is
about
now mandatory masks if you are in public.
it's all
Gotta get-
of Missouri.
Oh, did the governor
Gotta get a
come out?
mask to match every outfit, bro.
I didn't know they did it. The governor said that.
Yeah, it's every.
It's mandatory for everybody now.
It's everywhere. If you go into a public setting like a Lowe's, a Walmart, whatever, you're supposed to be wearing a mask. A lot of people have them on the doors now. I'm seeing on places, and you know, some of the places are passing them out, which you know, it is what it is,
You know,
man.
I'm
I mean,
okay with that, honestly, because I agree with the idea of, you know, it's saving someone else's life.
right?
I'm not as worried about me getting sick because I am someone else that can't. get
That's
off the
my
virus.
motto.
I'm
Yeah.
the same thing.
I have
Yeah.
been seeing, just because I'm on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram. I've been seeing video after video after video of people getting pissed off at businesses that are requiring them to wear a mask and just throwing stuff and yelling obscenities.
I'm
just
so
like,
glad you brought that up.
so done with it.
I mean, my thing is this, and you know, I've seen some stuff about what happened to my body, my choice, except when it comes to killing babies. And you know, I think that's such a hypocritical statement because if you are in one post, you got all lives matter.
Yeah.
Now you don't want to wear a mask. I mean, what's the deal? I mean, nobody's saying that you got to wear it, you know, all the time. Just when you're around other people, when you can't maintain your 6 feet of distance or whatever, just cover your damn face. Your breath probably stink anyway.
Well, I think
So-
the thing that they're thinking about, and it's still dumb, is they're like, it's the mask isn't even going to keep me from getting sick, so why even wear it? And they're not understanding that the mask is preventing the particles from your mouth from flying further out. So
Right.
you're not realizing how much you're helping by wearing a mask. And if everyone's wearing a mask, then you're good. Did you see they have these fake cards that people are making that are saying they're basically like a medical card. It says I am not required to wear a mask, and they're fake. And so they put out a bulletin saying do not accept these cards because they are stupid.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Like that.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, bruh. I mean, come on. If somebody showed me that card, I smack them.
Yeah.
He said, "Bruh."
I don't know if you can really charge them
Stop.
with anything. It's just fake. They just like it's fake.
I mean,
It's not
the thing about it is what is the big deal? Is it so inconvenient? I mean, that you just got to cover your face up for, you know, your 20, 30 minutes or whatever your life that you're gonna be around somebody else.
Someone on
Is it
Twitter,
really that bad?
Yeah, someone on Twitter posted a bunch of images of this lady going through like I think it was her 3rd or 4th chemo treatment, and all this medical equipment attached to her and the whole process. And she's like, I think she said it was like her nine months into chemo or something like that. And she's like, please look at these images and understand that wearing a mask is not an inconvenience. This is an inconvenience. So, I mean, people don't think about that enough.
But people just feel like when I have, if I wear a mask and nobody else is wearing a mask, or a certain amount of people, because I see it every day, and I don't always.
We're losing your audio a little bit there, Reese. Can you scoot in?
Yeah. Well, my ears are all stopped up. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I see it every day where half the people are wearing them, half aren't. Some people are hacking, some people are coughing all over the place, and I don't wear my mask all the time. I probably need to, but I don't like it. Depending on what I eat, I don't like the smell of my breath at all the time.
That's a note.
Hey,
that's a note.
Hey,
how many?
You hear what that boy said?
Mike,
Mike, you hear that said? Mike, you hear what he just said?
Hey, that's
I
real
think he's
talk.
watching YouTube.
That boy said his breath was doo doo.
Hey.
I got a question for y'all.
Listen, you wear that mask enough. Joel knows. He just said he had to cut his beard because the mask wasn't fitting around.
I was going to. I mean, I trimmed it back a little bit because it got real shaggy during quarantine. But I
what y'all eat for lunch? Hog jaws or something?
Right.
You already know I wear my mask.
Hey, T-Well, you had
you wear your mask, huh?
T-Well, you
Hey,
say something.
so did you guys realize that a lot of these videos with the cops are arresting people that are going to the stores, where the people that are in the stores, like the managers, are telling them to wear masks and they're refusing to wear the mask, and the cops are using kind of like excessive force to arrest them because they're not wearing a mask? Have you seen those videos?
I haven't seen any of those.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's out there.
Are they still? They're getting kind of crazy with that too.
Yes, I will definitely send them to you guys. It was crazy. This man, cop did that, but the manager came up to him and was like, "You got to put your mask on." The guy refused and called the police on him. Police showed up and was like, "Sir, if you don't put your mask on, we're going to take you in." And I mean, they manhandled the crap out of him because he didn't have a mask on. That was crazy.
Some cities and have ordinances where it is an arrestable offense to not wear the mask when it's mandated.
If it was in New York,
but
Louisiana.
Yeah, but bro, it's a mask, bro. He ain't shoot nobody or nothing.
But this is the thing, though. This is the thing, though. So this is great topic. I think that when you're talking about policing and people's businesses, now you have the right to refuse service to anyone.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that. And once that person tells you to leave their property and exit, and they don't, you're breaking the law. You're trespassing, essentially. So now we go to the next level, and the cops show up and they're like, "Man, you got to go." And he's like, "I don't have to leave." What do you expect him to do? Of course they're gonna get physical.
They throw out it's a free country at that point.
It's gonna get physical.
Dog.
So to me,
that's
the
crazy
people.
To me.
I know it seems like, why does it have to go there from something so frivolous as a mask? But at some point, they kind of bring it on themselves, because it's like you could just leave. You don't have to shop there. If you don't want to wear the mask and they make you wear a mask, go somewhere else and buy your food. Why are you going to go through all this rigmarole with the police? And you don't have to. Well, you just leave.
Man,
freaking just order online and do curbside pickup.
Because that's like what you said the other day. You can't stop me from walking across the street.
That's different.
You said that the other day.
That's
different.
That's
different.
How's it different?
It's not
because it's private
it's a restaurant.
Property. It's private property. It's still private property. I have the right to
restaurant.
No. He was saying
right to refuse service to anybody. If I tell you to leave and you go outside and stand on the sidewalk and do your dance and holler around, you can do whatever you want because you're on public property then. But if you're inside my business and I ask you to leave and you don't, and I call the police and then they ask you to leave and you don't, you're gonna get handled. That's just how it's gonna happen.
But I will send the video because that might not be how it happened. But
Yeah,
I'll send the video.
No.
So
and
we
there
can,
might be more stuff in that
Yeah.
happened we didn't know about. You can't tell,
Yeah.
so we might have to research it. I mean, that's the
I
one
mean,
problem with social media is you
on
only
the,
get a
but
glimpse.
on the face, but on
Yep.
the face, if somebody asks you to leave their business, it's the same thing as your house. If somebody walk in your house and you're like, "Hey man, you need to leave," and they're like, "I ain't going nowhere," and you
I'm
grab
shooting.
by the you grab by the seat of their pants and throw them
different.
out and throw.
That's
It's the
different.
same
That's
thing.
your-
It's
that's
private
your
property,
house.
bro.
No, it's not.
So
No, it's not. Because
That's-
you're doing a
that's-
business. You're doing a business to serve people, bro. You're not. That my house is my house. You
Yeah.
that you
So-
can't. You those two different
That's
things.
two different things.
So you
Yeah.
so you guys,
Yeah,
both of you
but-
guys are you saying that nobody has the right to refuse service to anyone?
Actually,
Not in my home. You're not going to come in my
I'm
home.
talking
No,
a
no,
business.
no,
I'm
in
talking
business.
about a business.
Business.
In a business.
Every business
You
has.
said-
Oh yeah, business does.
Yeah.
But you said home though.
No, I said.
So that's the
well,
two
I'm talking
different
about a
things.
business.
Yeah, just the business.
Because Mike said you there to serve people. My business, I'm not there to serve you. I'm there to make money.
Every business pretty much has a sign somewhere that says
But
we
you
have
gotta-
the right
but
to
you gotta
refuse service
serve
to anyone.
To,
No,
to
I
make
don't.
money, you got to serve people.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
that's,
doing
So,
nothing.
so,
that's
so how you making money?
well, they're not kicking
But-
everybody out.
That's my thing, man. If you got certain criteria, just like no shirt, no shoes, no service, it's the same stuff. It's no different.
I don't want to cut into this too badly, but we're already at like 12 minutes and we haven't even hit our first topic we were supposed to talk about.
That was I thought
Hey,
that
but-
was the first
yeah,
topic.
No, that
It
wasn't the
was.
first time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and.
It was because Reese said his breath stink in his mask, so
Okay.
we had to talk about it.
hey, that's real talk.
Oh my god.
I
Okay,
know it.
actually, here we go.
Hey, don't they sell mints where you work?
We were gonna talk about the history of the
Go
Confederate
buy me some.
flag. At least Soup really.
Say it
wanted to
again,
talk
Joe.
about it.
Yeah. So
Soup wanted to talk about the history of the Confederate flag.
So with all the rigmarole with the flag going on, and everybody's just like up in arms about it, I thought it'd be nice to have a little history lesson on it. I came across a video on IG that was short and sweet, and I thought it was perfect for what we're talking about. You want to cue that up, Joel?
Yeah, go ahead and keep talking. I'll get
roll the reel, JQ.
Yeah, I gotta get set up. Go ahead and keep talking.
Oh, okay. So Joel ain't ready.
No,
you know.
I'm ready. I just gotta do a couple things.
My
Oh,
bad.
ready,
Get it
ready.
set up.
Ready for
So
warfare.
there is the flag evolved several different ways. I actually did some research on this a few weeks ago because I was just kind of curious for my own thought. And
I'm ready
I
whenever you're ready.
I went through Wikipedia and it had if I'm correct, I think 5 different flags on there, but this little
Yeah.
video actually shows a 6th flag that I didn't know about. So it was very informative to me. So here we go.
This is not the Confederate national flag. When the United States split in twain during the Civil War, this was the first flag her rebel half used, the Bonnie Blue, which she copied from the Republic of West Florida. No, really, this country existed. A border disagreement between Spain and the US over the Louisiana Purchase gave some local rebels an opportunity to take over a fort in 1810, declare independence as required with a flag, and run a
can't
government
see it?
for 78
Oh,
days
they'll be able to
until the
see it.
United States put an end to that.
can't
Anyway,
share this
fast
with you
forward
guys.
to the Civil War, and when Mississippi seceded from the Union, she adopted the flag of the tiny country that had been within her borders, and it became the unofficial flag of the rebellion, but not for long. Blue wouldn't do. That's a Yankee color. The new Confederate government asked for flag designs and got several, including one from a German-Prussian artist in Alabama who possibly took design cues from the Austrian Empire and Betsy Ross. Side note here, while we're talking about misnamed flags, Betsy Ross probably didn't design this flag. There's no evidence to support that she did, only stories from long after she died. Lady Godiva style, but we're
I
getting
thought that
off
was
track
funny.
here. The Confederate government selected
Yeah,
this
that
as their
was.
official flag and named it the Stars and Bars, so calling this the Stars and Bars is wrong on 2 counts. That's not its name, and this is a cross. These are bars. New flag adopted, off to war, but on the battlefield, the flag's similarity with the Union's was confusing, what with the terror and the smoke. Nonetheless, the Confederacy stuck with her flag, but her army wanted to avoid friendly fire, and so took one of their rejected designs and squarified it into a battle flag. The Navy too liked this design and
Used to
eventually
be this
switched,
way.
though using a
Yeah, it
brighter,
was more
Right.
squared up. That's what
non-Yankee
the traditional
blue.
Confederate
The
one
popularity
looked like.
of the official flag decreased in the Confederacy as time went on, even though they kept increasing the stars, while the popularity of the battle flag grew. So in 1863, the Confederate government tried again and went with white, sticking the battle flag in the corner. This was better in the sense that the flag looked less like the Yankees, but worse in that the international symbol of surrender was now in the background.
Surrender.
The army stuck with theirs.
That's
2
wild.
years later, the Confederate
Right.
government again changed the flag, adding a red bar and a new tough name. Also, the design slightly
Bloodstain.
rectangularified the battle flag.
Yep.
This could no longer be mistaken for surrender and was the last flag as 36 days later, the Confederacy surrendered. So this design
As soon
was
as I
never
changed it, so it
technically the
doesn't say
flag of the
surrender.
Confederate government, but close enough. This is
Okay,
not the
so-
Confederate
man.
national.
So yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. I seen that video too. That's
Yeah, and it's
weird.
the thing that I find funny about that is everybody talked about how that flag represents their heritage, but if they actually knew the history behind that, that flag is not the representation of their heritage.
and it's not technically the Confederate flag, but it is used by the Confederate Army to fight for the Confederacy. So it's still a Confederate flag in that
Confederate
sense.
flag.
Yeah, it's the Confederate Navy flag actually.
Yeah, or battle
Yeah.
flag.
Battle flag.
And the Confederacy adopted that as their flag because their original flag looked like a flag of surrender because it had the
White.
the X star. It was turned this way, and the rest of it was white. So then they
Yeah.
added a red bar to the side to say, you know, it was like the Reds. I can't remember exactly what it said, but
And real quick though, before we get too far off, I just want to cite we had played this video from David Banner on Instagram, DavidBanner. If you would like to watch this video again or share it, please go to his account.
Thanks, David
he's
Banner.
got some
Is that
Appreciate
David
you.
Banner, the rapper?
Yeah.
Banner,
Yeah.
David.
Rapper
Yeah.
/ activist.
Yeah.
Slash
Yeah.
So,
entertainer, blah blah blah.
yeah, so go
Right.
to him and check out his account and you can
Follow
see
him. He
that
has a
video.
lot. He has a lot of good information on his.
Yeah,
on his
follow
page.
David Banner. Shout out
So-
to David Banner. Thanks, bro.
Yep.
David
So
Banner.
so yeah, so this whole thing with the flag and you know how people like hold it up so high and act like it's like if it can't be displayed
It's
in
super
all
biblical.
aspects, then you
Right.
know we are somehow disgracing somebody. So first and foremost, this is the United States of America. It is not the United States and the
Of the
Confederacy
Confederate.
of United States of America. So there's millions of quotes out there. You know, you're a loser if you fly that flag. I mean, if you want to fly a flag, go win
But do
something.
you think that
But-
people know the history behind it though? Honestly. Do you think that
honestly-
they know the
No,
history
so-
behind it, or they just
No.
so set in their ways on their upbringing that this is the flag and this is what it was for and
So
this is how we're gonna do this? I mean, like, why so much make so big of a deal of
there's
something that's
misinformation.
not even irrelevant?
There's misinformation
I
out
wanna
there like
know.
crazy. So growing up in an area where people flew the Confederate flag, I mean, I'm in Missouri, people fly the Confederate flag, and they love their Confederate
All
flags.
damn.
There is a sense of history that they have about this that it's wrong. And because I've been told several times about it by different people. One, they go, "Oh, it's the battle flag. It's not the Confederate flag. It's the battle flag." And so I like the idea that, you know, I'm just part of this renegade or an
Rebel.
army or whatever.
Right, rebel. You're being
Yeah,
a
and other
rebel.
people they call it a rebel flag. Other people will say, "Oh, well, it's actually not even that. It was actually a specialized flag for a general that was fighting against the Confederacy, although he was in the South." That's not true either. So they're just trying to make themselves
Right.
feel better. And so I've heard those a lot, and they try to justify it. They're saying it's not about slavery. It's like a rebel flag. I just want to say I'm a rebel kind of thing. But then when people say, "Hey, we should get rid of it," they get really offended. I'm like,
And the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "This is my heritage."
it's
I'm
my
like,
heritage. And I'm like, I wouldn't
That's
claim
what I hear
that.
a lot of.
I wouldn't claim that.
Yeah.
So
and there's two groups that came out of the Civil War, the Veterans of the Confederacy, and the Daughters of the Confederacy.
yeah.
Mhm.
So these two groups had the original Confederate the battle flag, I guess, that had the white on it, and they wanted to preserve that just for memorial to the guys that fought in the Confederacy, and they didn't want it used for nothing else. So somebody along the way through that said, "No, that's not the one we want to use. We really just want to use the battle flag." And they said, "But we need to turn it." So they turned this battle flag this way, and they went to the Congress and everything, and actually fought to have this.
One lady went to the Congress and fought because she had a lot of power. I forgot her name.
This flag preserved and not to be used for anything else. They didn't want it
Right.
used for shirts. They didn't want it displayed anywhere but at these Confederate memorials.
Mhm.
I personally don't have a problem with that. If you want to, you got your family or whatever that fought for the Confederacy, and you want to put that in some type of museum somewhere or memorialize it in some kind of way somewhere else, like most museums are not in a state capital type of setting. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, because
that's different though.
I'm not saying you should forget your history or we should try to erase it by just making everything go away. I'm not for one saying that, because I don't want people to not know what happened to slaves and how black people were oppressed all those years. I don't want that. I want that to go away. People need to know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so what? Go ahead.
and there's also, so when when they tried to do that, and the more they got, people kept trying to use this flag for other things. So there was a group called the Dixiecrats when when the Confederacy, or not the Confederacy, I'm sorry, when the they were trying to end segregation. So the Dixiecrats were going to Congress and doing marches and protesting, and while they were out there, they were flying the battle flag. That was their thing. They took the battle flag out there, and the Dixiecrats were like, "Yeah, we need segregation. The black people need to stay over there. We need to keep ourselves from the Dixiecrats."
And I think they were trying at that point. I mean, it was brought back because it was a battle flag, and they felt like they're at a battle. And again, it was still about keeping blacks and whites apart. So they were like, "This is perfect. We'll use it." And then it also it was not just a symbol of slavery. It was also becoming a symbol of segregation. Basically, we don't want you to mix with us.
Right.
So
in the South.
That's even more additional.
That's that X, man.
Stuff that's going on. And then it got adopted by the KKK.
Right. So shortly after that, the Dixiecrats didn't get their way. Segregation was gonna end. These states, such as South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana, started erecting these monuments in front of Capitol buildings on their own. They didn't go through the proper channels, because you're supposed to go through a whole bunch of legislation to get this done. They didn't do it. They just built the statues and they said, "Yeah, put it up." And they started flying the battle flag over their state houses and everything like this. And the KKK got, saw the movie Sons of the South, or what is that the name of it? Sons of the South. But it was kind of a movie that kind of empowered them again, of like, look, we can take this back. So it was basically a movie about
it was the flag of a nation or something.
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation. Good. There you go, Reese. And it was a movie about them basically winning.
Yeah, but the original one, not the remake. The original.
Right, the original one.
No, the original one. Yeah.
The original one was about the South winning, and so that's where the South will rise again thing came from. And the KKK saw the Dixiecrats getting out there, and they said, "You know what? This is going to be our flag." Now,
that's
the
also...
KKK did not use these flags during their rituals. They just burned the cross, and they had the swastika and whatever.
Well,
but they knitted it into their robes.
Yes,
right.
They did.
So it was a badge. It was a patch.
Right.
On their robe.
Another symbol of, we're going to battle, and this is what we're fighting for. What these guys stood for. So, if you are out there and you so happen to watch this and you don't understand why people of color and people who are
absolutely
not in that mindset find that flag offensive, then you're just misguided. I suggest you do some research, because that's why
it hits you pretty quick too. I mean, if you just type in history of the Confederate flag, I found like 5 different sites. I was doing kind of the same research you were doing. That if you're like, I don't trust Wikipedia, then history.net. You can go there. There's like several others that I found that also the exact same thing. But like what Sue's saying, it's if you're still torn about it, and you're watching this, do your research. We're not the end all, begin all, end all. No. But just understand that people, even if they weren't born slaves or anything like that, because no one alive has been, but they still lived through an era that was the symbol of segregation. That was what people flew, because they did not want you to sit next to them because of the color of your skin.
So I went to visit my dad in Mississippi, and no, I was in Georgia. I'm sorry, I was in he was in Georgia at the time, and we went to the Georgia State Park. And I don't know if you've been to this park, but there's a huge rock in the middle of this park, and it looks like a mountain, but it's just a rock. And you know, we're riding through the park, and my dad's like, "Yeah, that's where they used to have Klan meetings up there, and they used to lynch people up there all the time." And I'm like, "How do you know that?" He was like, "You didn't come here as a kid." My dad's 69 years old. I mean, and he vividly remembers that growing up in the South. So I mean, that was like, wow.
Damn.
And to this day, I mean, he's still very leery of white people because he lives in Mississippi now, and he talks about things that I even like, really, dude. And it's like, so when you start, looking at somebody his age, black people have only been able to vote for, was it 70 years? Is that right, Reese?
Yeah.
I know you know.
I believe so.
So in my dad's lifetime, he couldn't vote. And his dad couldn't vote. I mean, to me, that's kind of like crazy that I know somebody alive that when they were born, they didn't have the right to vote. That's crazy.
So that brings up a question. So do you think part of the reason why these tensions are still around is because everyone has these past experiences or their past history, like the older generations? You are shaped by the people around you when you grow up and your experiences. Mm-hmm. So say white people who grow up in a time of segregation, they're passing on, their beliefs and so on and so forth to the next generation. And in the South, there's probably maybe a little bit less of a, I guess, way of contradicting that, less contradictions to it. And even people of color who've lived through that now, it's even harder for them to, trust a white person or whatever, because they've had so many experiences. They just feel like that's going to be the truth. That's the reality. And they don't think it's ever going to change. Do you think that's something that's plaguing us right now? Is this just something that's going to die out with generations, or no?
Well, you have to remember that people always have a choice, right?
Well, they do.
So your parents can teach you anything in the world, but when you turn 18 through whatever time you get out of your parents' house and you get into the real world, you have a choice, and you can continue with those beliefs, or you can go your own path. I like to call it stuck in your parents' shadow. You don't always have to be under your parents' shadow. You can branch out from your parents' shadow and create your own shadow and have different beliefs. One more thing before anybody else answers your question. I just wanted to say, for me, I would never understand about what I don't understand about the Confederacy is they lost the war, and they were also traitors to America. If I'm correct,
you're right. Absolutely,
they were going against the president. Yeah,
so,
they
absolutely
made some traitors.
So that part of history is one that I will never understand. And I say this because when you really sit down and think about it, still in, what is this, 2020, we're still having the same conversations, the same disagreements about traitors to America. Everybody that lives in this country is supposed to be American. I understand what you believe is your history, but that part of history, people seem to forget about it. I mean, I understand you want to have your reenactments, and I understand
they don't forget about it. They don't forget about it.
I feel like
it's space. It's space.
If you're a traitor, you can't be both, right? You can't be American and a traitor.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why we go to all these.
I think depending on some schools, like where you are in the country, they teach the Civil War differently.
Yes, well, they teach a lot of things differently.
I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard
it was a battle of noble men, and brothers fought against brothers, and it was, for the ways of the South. They were fighting for their financial freedom, and they didn't want to, share all their wealth with the North, and that's what it was about. And if
That
you think
sounds
I
like
didn't hear that
sarcasm.
story, I've heard it. I've heard that
I've heard
story.
it too. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
So I always grew up with that being, it's just straight up. They just say it was over slavery. It was like as soon as it was
That's what it
introduced,
was.
like it was over
Money.
slavery. But I know
that
that other
time-
people who live down south said it was not taught that same way.
No, it wasn't. It was.
They had to make it look good because they did some terrible things.
It's watered down, and I mean,
Yeah.
the truth is out there. I mean, when I went to Augusta, and there's a museum there on their waterway, and it's a nice museum, and they have a lot of stuff about how they move stuff down the Mississippi and stuff like that, and they touch on slavery a little bit, but what they have in that museum is not the truth. I mean,
Dang.
it's they got like cotton bales, and they got some art there of black people not in chains, but they're working, and we know it's a little bit watered down. I'm just like, okay, well, I mean, Mike, you got something to say on that?
It's these people that
Wait, what do you mean by these people?
these people with the Confederate flag. It's not all. I believe there are some that are truly taught for what they hear. They don't research themselves. There's a lot of people that came. There's a lot of people I know that found out what the Confederate flag is. It was some people I know that truly thought it was for racing. That thought the flag was a race car flag. They didn't know the history. They didn't know the history of it. So I do believe that there are like some people out here, parents are just telling their kids whatever, and
They thought that was just a Dukes of Hazzard thing, huh?
Yeah, and the kids just going whatever their parents tell them and ain't doing research.
I want to hit on that too a little bit.
Or didn't listen in history class.
Well, I mean, I want to hit on that again as well. Going back to the whole thing of how it's taught in school. If you've been taught in school your whole life, or when you were in school, or whatever, that it was not about slavery, it was about financial and different cultures and so on and so forth, then when you go somewhere else and they tell you it was only about slavery, they're like, why are you trying to paint me and my culture in a negative light? That's not what it was about at all. Because then they get defensive. That's when they start going, this is my culture and my heritage. They don't feel like that heritage is connected to slavery. They think it's just a Southern thing, like the Southern culture. So I think that's where the offense comes from, where people are like, you can't do that to me. But they got to stop, and they got to look at how the flag has been used, the instances it's been used, and the people who have used it. If it was something that I wanted to preserve, like I wanted to preserve this as a cultural mark of my area or my state or whatever, and I want people to remember good things about my state, I would try to stop all the other people from using it in an inappropriate way. I mean, if they had started doing that, we wouldn't probably be having the same conversation we're having now. Now, the flag would probably still be controversial because of its use in history, but things evolve over time. You could have assigned a new meaning to that. If you
can't assign a new meaning to what you lost. You lost the war.
No, they lost the war.
Your country.
They lost the war.
So there's nothing that you can justify to say or turn it around and make it sound good.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if they were going to start using it for the segregation and the KKK using it, so people in the South could have been like, no, we don't want to be associated with that. We don't want it to be
the daughters of the Confederacy legitimately tried. I will say that I looked into them to see who they were. They legitimately tried to preserve that for the memorial of their Confederate ancestors,
which was allowed to them by the Union. The Union, so they could do that.
Which I'm good with, but when it started going another direction, they just took their hands off. They're like, okay, whatever. And I don't know if it was because they didn't have the resources to do it, or they just was like, this is, it's going to be out there forever now. You know,
There's a
I
lot
don't.
of questions, and you know, you
I don't-
can't answer the
I-
questions of the people who no longer live.
So-
So
A really quick side note. So, uh, during the Civil War and a little bit before, America that is when America was at its greatest power because it was at its richest because they made money off of free labor. So that's when it was quote unquote, see those fingers, the greatest country in the world. And that's where that slogan comes from today with "Make America Great Again."
no, actually, that's not where it comes. He's reusing. If you're talking about Trump, I think it was Nixon. Was it? No, not Nixon. It was Reagan. It was Reagan had "Let's Make America Great," and he
Was
wanted
it Reagan
to
or
pull off.
Kennedy? Was it Reagan or Kennedy?
No,
No, it was Reagan.
No,
It was Reagan.
But
Reagan
it was
had a slogan
Reagan.
when he was running for president. It was "Make America Great," and then
Yeah.
Trump and Reagan's like the messiah of the Republican Party. And so when Trump was running, he wanted to tap into that same base. So he said, "Let's make America great again." So he was calling back to that. But he's not talking about going back to slavery or any of that stuff.
No. No, you misunderstand me.
Yeah.
So Reagan was a puppet first and foremost. Secondly,
Aren't all politicians.
but
He's a
secondly, what I was saying is that's when America was at its greatest power, its riches, because if I'm not mistaken, cotton was the number one material in the world, right? It was the number one
used it for
material because
everything.
everybody needed a piece of it. And so that's what I'm saying. That's where I know where the slogan came from, but if you follow the money, that's where it originates from.
Reese always talking about the money.
That's any problem ever in life, it's gonna follow it. You can
Hold
can
up.
follow
I mean,
it
I
all
feel like-
back to the money.
Show me the
what is he-
money.
I don't know. I don't
so him
feel like
saying
I
make
quite
it.
agree with that, but I mean, I don't know.
So when he's saying "Make America Great Again," so what is he talking about, Joe?
He's not
If he
talking
ain't
about. I mean, to
Stop
say
it.
that he's trying to
Well-
take it back to like a slavery time, I
Hold
think
on.
he's just
So,
trying to tap into
I have
the Reagan thing.
I have a quote for you. I'm paraphrasing here. Somebody was asked, when you say when was America great? And there's a politician that said when we had slaves, America was
Slavery.
fine.
Fine, yeah.
That came out of a politician's
I
mouth.
heard that. I
And that
heard
was
that.
Like
recently.
one who's alive.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
who's
Yeah,
alive,
yeah.
and
One
it
who's
was
That
alive.
was like a few months ago.
Yeah.
That was a few months
Really?
ago.
and they
Yeah.
you don't remember
Yeah.
that, and they
I didn't
blasted
see
it
it.
like
Have you?
they're like, how
Have
you
you? Have
how you
you?
gonna say on TV that it was
That
good
was when
slavery
America was great.
around? It's like that was the worst time in history. He's like, well, I'm not saying that the slavery part was bad, but America was really great at that time. And I'm just saying if we
No.
could get back
Have you
to
seen
when
the
it
show?
was like that, I'm like, whoa,
What are you saying,
Have
Mike?
you seen? Have you seen the show 13, bro?
right?
13.
No, 13.
No.
13.
What is that?
That's your
You need
that's
to
your
watch it.
homework.
You need to watch
It's on
that show.
Netflix.
We're not
Dude,
gonna
I ain't
tell
got
you
time to
that's your
watch most
homework.
stuff. What is just
That's
give me the cliff
your
notes.
homework.
Give me the cliff notes.
Cliff notes
It's
is you
long.
need to
It's a
watch it.
lot. It's a lot of information.
What is it about?
It really is.
It's about systemic racism.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it like
Yeah.
a series or a
It's-
movie?
It's a movie.
Series.
So,
So
It's a
it's a series. You
Oh,
don't have
just
to
one
watch
part.
it all at one time.
Be careful.
I'm watching series.
Okay, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
So-
still, I don't think. I mean, I'm not trying to speak for Trump or anything like that, but I don't think when he says "Make America Great Again," I don't think he's trying to say like make it as great as it was during the before the Civil
be
War.
careful.
Now let's be clear. We I hate saying that word. Let's be clear.
What?
Donald Trump only says what's going to make people that's going to vote for him stimulated.
I agree with that,
His,
and I
his
think,
ratings go up.
I think
That
I think
he's on the game show.
he's
He
really
don't.
just
Yeah.
trying to get it back
He on the
to
game show.
Reagan because he just knows that Reagan's worshipped by the Republican Party. He just wants to harken back to that. So I don't think he's taking it that far back down.
I do.
What I do, because
Because-
it was one point. It was one point where he was talking about, back in the day, the police officer wouldn't have sat there and let that happen. Yeah, back in the day,
That was in
police
his
officers
rally.
were beaten. Back in the
the
day,
shit
police
out
officers
you.
was beating out of beating
Hose
crap out of
you.
people.
Yeah.
Dogs put on
Right.
you.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going
All
to
that.
defend what he does now, but I just don't
No,
think that
I'm
phrase
saying-
is what he's going for. But
Okay, so what I would call that is an open-ended straight that he put out there.
yeah, probably then not.
Would you agree with that? I'm gonna say let's
Oh,
make
yeah.
America great again, and you take that wherever you want to go with
Wherever you want. You take
You
it
take it
to
back.
you
So-
trace back to whenever America was great for you, or
So-
I just,
what
so
you
if I'm
yeah, but
walking
I don't
around-
think
back
that's
to
fair,
Reconstruction.
though, for that phrase.
Wait,
though,
wait. You
because-
look.
What?
You look. Wait. Do you know? So you have Reconstruction. You have the Civil Rights era. You have you also have I forgot about Jim Crow. I forgot about redlining. I forgot it. Be careful, dude. Sorry. I mean,
Ronald
there's-
Reagan
there's-
campaign slogan: "Let's make America great again." Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The time is now for strong leadership. He said all that stuff. So yeah, Joel is right. He is paraphrasing some stuff.
He's copying
from-
Reagan because Reagan
from
is
Reagan.
like the messiah of the Republican Party.
But also, also
after that, he's doing a lot of things that would make you think that he's like prejudiced or racist or things.
Yeah,
of that nature.
he does.
Every
I agree
rally
with
that he's had is always on a historic black something that's been going on, or a black massacre, and he holds his rallies on those dates.
Yeah.
So why is that?
Yeah.
He
know,
literally
it
has
makes you think.
failed every time he's come up to a situation where he could show that
Yeah.
he cares about black people, and he really fails every single time.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's like, when there's white supremacists going up against, peaceful protests because Antifa shows up and does some things, he's like, well, and the supremacists do a bunch of stuff. He doesn't say, oh my gosh, we had white supremacists who were messed up, and we had Antifa that was messed up. We had some peaceful protests that were caught in the middle. He says, no, there's problems on both sides. I'm like, wait a second.
Or he'll say Antifa's terrorists.
There was good people on both sides.
Good people on both sides. Yeah, well, yeah, what the heck? Or if, like, when white supremacists go out and do things, I mean, he's probably, maybe someone can correct me. I'm okay to be corrected. But was white supremacists
You're wrong.
got arrested, and they were going out there impersonating police officers, planning on kidnapping black people and killing them. Well, they don't. So they don't know about killing.
We assume,
but they knew they were going to kidnap people. They told them they were going to kidnap people of color.
We assume.
I don't know if Trump has tweeted about that, but if someone writes a mural "Black Lives Matter" in New York by Trump Tower, he's pissed. And I'm like, you're failing every single test that to show that you care about people. And as the commander-in-chief, who's supposed to be a civil servant, that's not a good sign. That's not
at all.
And I'd like to say it's not going to get you reelected, but unfortunately, the base that is voting for him either doesn't care that he says that because he does other things that they like, so they're going to take that with what they consider the good. I'm thinking that's unacceptable.
Reese disappearing again. Go in the house, boy.
You go inside.
So
hey,
it's just,
darkness.
Brother darkness. So there was a person out there that said, I'm trying to remember the exact quote. I was sitting here thinking about it. As far as like the Make America Great Again and things like that, they just said that it was just a better time then. And when somebody asked him, it's like, when is then? He was like, when I was a kid. Now this dude's like 75 years old.
Okay. So yeah, that's where like everyone's like, it was better when I was a kid. I'm like, you did not have understanding of what was going on around you.
I mean, but these people that are 75 years old, they understood because that means they were like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, but they thought there was no problems.
And no. They was drinking out of the white fountain. They was going to the white restroom. They was washing their hands in the white bathroom. So there wasn't
a problem for them.
There wasn't like this was something that was a blind slate where you didn't see these signs.
Yeah,
they
weren't told that you can't go somewhere. They could go anywhere they wanted.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing I was kind of talking to Mike about. Hey, the kitties. That's what I was kind of talking to Mike about is, when you talk about, when somebody's saying you can't go a certain place, you can't go across the street. That's kind of what I was meaning. So, this is, I'm going to segue into the monument thing because I know we was going to talk about that too.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
mute your mic.
Mute your mic. All right, let's go ahead and talk about that.
Monuments.
Oh, actually, I hit the wrong one. Let's do this one. Here we go.
Oh, we're gonna do the other
What to
one.
do with
Be careful.
controversial statues?
Go through the middle.
What to do with controversial statues?
Bomb diggity.
So
Leave them
Make
up.
my-
Leave
make-
them up.
Make
No,
Michael
let me
Jordan
go
bigger.
first. Let me go first.
he
Let me
said,
go first.
Make
he
Michael
said,
Jordan
make
bigger.
Michael Jordan bigger.
So
we
Let me-
need a statue
wait.
of the best NFL team in history.
stop it. Let me. Hey,
You wouldn't like seeing that much red. I'm sorry.
No.
All right, let Reese go first.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Reese.
I'm gonna go first. It's
Because
gonna
we're
be
not
short
gonna be
and
able to see
sweet.
you much longer.
Because you disappearing.
Yeah.
Reese, you need to go
Who
inside,
did
it?
man.
Houdini.
Darkness. I'm
Go
out here in this
inside,
gazebo.
bro.
I'm out here in this gazebo. It's dope.
Darkness
But look,
is beautiful, huh?
Darkness. Yes. Check this out. So what we need
Tell
to
them
do
to turn the
with
light
these
on.
statues.
You can turn the light on out there.
I'll hit it. But hey, so look,
Brother Dog.
what we need to do with these statues. First, there's a few things called books, called Google, and whatever type of information that you want to get into, right? That you can go
Right.
read about, that you can Google about. So, and then these statues, you can actually move them into a museum
Yes.
to where they don't have to be out in public, because if you like just say Robert E. Lee, for example. Robert E. Lee was not a great man. I mean, I guess to some people he was a great man, but to most, especially if you look like me, yeah, Robert E. Lee was not a great person.
Horrible.
So I'll let y'all take it from there.
No,
So-
I agree with you 100%. I don't know if they should be destroyed. I think they should be moved to a museum because I think there's historical, I would say historical value. Well, I mean, hard to say value, but I mean, well, I'm
it's
conflicted.
value is the
I'm
right word.
conflicted saying value, but
So
Value is the right
what
word.
What statues are we
Value
talking
is the
about?
right
or
word.
the
value?
Confederate statues.
Confederate statues.
Yeah.
But they
Confederate
lost. So
general.
why are we
Well,
even
Christopher
talking?
We're
Why
talking
are they
about
even
them
up?
because they played huge parts in history. They were
So put
people
them in the
on the other side.
Smithsonian.
We could put them in the Smithsonian. You could put them in a Civil War museum. You could have statues of
Right.
both. But you have these so far likeness, renderings of these characters. It just helps people kind of vision these people during that time. But tearing them down, the problem with if you tear it down, people are like, you're erasing history. You're trying to rewrite history. I'm like, no, it's not what you're trying to do. But
Yeah.
shouldn't we rewrite history?
no, we should not.
Because wait.
I mean, it's
So
what shaped
wait.
America.
You can't
That's not-
you can't rewrite history. That's
You don't rewrite
that's
it.
impossible unless we get
No.
Mike's hot tub time machine and fix it all.
There is,
We-
there is. I know there's something in the back of a lot of people in the South's mind is when they're talking about tearing down these statues. There's a phrase that says that history is written by the victors, and they're feeling like they've lost the war. They're going to lose their statues, their flag, and then they're going to be like, now they're going to rewrite it any way they want. Although they already have, and they lost. So
Absolutely.
it's
So-
kind of an interesting.
If you're not
paradigm.
first, you're last, Ricky Bobby, and you guys didn't
Shake
win.
and bake.
Didn't
So-
win.
So as far as like talking about rewriting history, that's impossible. You can't take all these statues off and rename all the cities. No Jackson County,
would
no
be-
this, no that.
Well, they will
It's
start
not-
renaming cities. Actually,
It's
probably.
not going to make what happened go away.
So-
I agree with Joel about taking these statues and putting them in a museum, and I also think that if I go out and deface a statue and tear it down, yeah, I feel good for about 15 seconds. So when they go and clean it up and put it back up there, what did I really do? It has more meaning if the city and the people in power say, okay, we understand that this is not the best symbol to represent our city. We're going to remove it from in front of our state capitals. We're going to have a Civil War park, or we're going to have the Jackson County Park, because
I wouldn't do a park.
you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
More
I
like
don't
a
think it should.
museum.
Yeah,
I don't think it should represent the state. That is
Yeah.
that's my problem with it.
I
That
agree
shit
should not
would need to be in
represent
a
the state.
building.
Columbus, Ohio, and places like this, it shouldn't represent the state. But you're not gonna be able to just make these people go away, because they're not going to go away. And I think if you try to erase it in that fashion, then people can Google this and Google that, but we all know that picking up books and Googling things is the last things on people's mind.
People will like to read headlines and make opinions off headlines.
They're not gonna research stuff.
Yeah.
So are you saying that we just need to take just a little bit? Don't try to take the whole pie, but try to take a little half of the pie, and have some of the things there in place to where they're gonna be like,
I'm saying
it's not some of the bigger things, but just some of the littler things.
I'm saying we need to control the knife. I'm saying we need to control the knife.
Oh, I think
not so much taking the pie. I think we need to control the knife.
I think
and have some say in where these things go.
To strip the metaphor a little bit, I think what you're trying to say, just in case someone's not quite following how the conversation's going, but if a state wants to have representation of how they view this state and their people and their culture now in today's America, if they look at like a statue of Lee, or a statue of Columbus, and they look at the entire character as a historical character and see how some of the values they represented, I think they would realize that this is probably not something they want to have in a place of to be honored. It would be better in a museum. It would be better. They need a better representation of how they are in today's America, not how they were in 1400s or in the 1800s or 1700s. So
or the 1900s.
Or the 1900s even. So, I mean, America has changed drastically even in the last, 50 years, 60 years. And I think you need to have representation of what America is now. And it doesn't mean like if you have statues that go up and then America changes and it's not a good representation of your culture at the time, you don't have to destroy the statues. You can move the statues into history. Just have a process and have something that represents you guys.
I mean, we got a Space Force now. We didn't tear down NASA.
Right.
That's Space Force. Have you guys seen the show?
No. I have, but
that is hilarious.
The monkey and the dog on the satellite. Oh my god.
That was ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous.
He ate the dog.
So well, I'm gonna throw this in there too.
Go
ahead. How do you guys feel about the baseball and football teams, since we're talking about not more so
and stuff like that?
Renaming, not removing but renaming, or
I mean that one is a little bit harder because there's a bit of history and I haven't looked into it, but I've had someone else tell me about it, which means it could be wrong. But it was a very he was a very what's what I'm looking for enthusiastic Redskins fan, and he was saying that there was actually a lot of representation from Native Americans when they named that team. So like there was someone who was like a part owner or was involved with the family who started it or something like that, and he was Native American, and so they were trying to use that as representation. I don't know if it's 100% accurate because I haven't been able to research it. Like the Chiefs as well. I mean, obviously that was kind of, I don't know if it was meant for representation, but it was
trash.
They're trying to do something like that to the Native, because there's a lot of Native Americans in Kansas and Missouri. So I mean that's gonna be a question I need to do research on. I don't know if I could say, let's go ahead and rename the Redskins, because I'm like, if it was actually there to honor them, that's a question.
So for multiple years and decades, actually, Native Americans have said that those names were offensive to their culture because they don't represent their culture correctly.
Yeah, you probably got a point there.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So like when you guys do the tomahawk chalk or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? When you guys do that.
The chokeahawk.
Yeah.
That's what y'all should have been doing.
Disrespectful. When Florida State does its thing with the horse and throwing the spear into the ground, disrespectful.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, and this is again, we're kind of going back with the culture shift. I mean, even if it was done, and I don't know again if it's 100% true, that story about the Redskins, if it was done in a sense of of
1932
honor,
was when it was
1932, if
founded.
it was like honor or just trying to give representation to a group, even using that name, it may have been a common name then, and they're like, well, we don't care, we just want to have representation, and it was honor at that point. America has shifted quite a bit, and if it's offensive to that group now, I mean, maybe you should look at changing the name. It's not like.
So
Go ahead.
So remember, and this is a made up name, but remember when Bomani Jones came on ESPN and he had the T-shirt on. I can't remember the exact name, but there was total outrage on ESPN. Or even remembering Friday when Ice Cube said the Cucamonga Cracker Killers. Nobody loved that. So
That's
it was
kind of
that
crazy.
was that was big time
You never seen
offensive.
that movie?
I'm sorry, guys. I have not seen Friday.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I see clips from it all the time, and it looks hilarious. But I've never watched the whole thing through.
We're gonna give you a
I gotta watch 13,
boo.
and I gotta watch Friday. Wasn't there like
13.
13?
I got
Friday
the CD. I got Friday. I got the DVD
Oh,
for
good.
you.
Oh,
I
just
know.
give it to me. I won't be in the office tomorrow. I'll be working from home. Just FYI.
So with the naming of the teams and things like that, you know, the Washington Redskins, obviously, I was just looking real quick, was
The
named
Atlanta
in
Braves.
like 1932 and this and that. And I mean, like Reese said, if somebody's speaking out saying that we don't like it, I mean, you have two choices. You can either respond or ignore it. I think they chose to ignore it.
What
So-
did they say
generations.
was the reason they named it Redskins? Does it have a reason why they named it?
It was very vague. It said he didn't name it because of their Native American members on the team. Or any deities. He's just, you know, he just liked it. Basically, what it said. Some guy named Marshall something.
Well,
I'm
then
gonna have to
that
do more.
bothers me too, because then again, I keep finding these instances in history where people tell you something, and it's usually a white person or it's some sort of story, and I'm not trying to attack my own people or whatever, but I'm noticing this more and more often is where we shift the history a little bit to make us feel better. So
It's a shoulder shrug. It's a shoulder shrug. It's
I
like,
don't even know if it's a
hey,
shoulder shrug. It's like, hey,
come
don't
on,
attack
guy.
me. We tried
That's
to do
not
the
what
right
I mean.
thing.
Come
We
on,
did
come
a
on,
good
guy.
thing.
Come on.
Like
That's not.
And I'm not
Look,
saying
we had Indians on the team. Why you busting my balls? Come on.
It's space. They putting all their people out in space.
You know what? People who didn't see the last episode are watching this like, why do they keep talking about space? What the hell?
Then you got to go watch.
You got to watch the last episode, season 3, episode
dropping
1,
jewels.
and
Dropping
that way you
jewels.
get that reference, because I imagine that reference is going to come up a lot these next few
Word.
videos. So,
But I think that
that when you put that hand up, that actually means you want to say something. Not you're not high fiving.
that's clapping. Didn't you see the thing
Oh,
there?
was it clap? Okay, I thought you had put
I
your
didn't
hand
see
up.
nothing.
I'm
No.
sorry.
And the thumbs up.
Yeah. I thought it was
Okay,
clapping.
I
too.
thought it was. There's a high raise hand thing in here. I thought you were trying to raise your
So
hand.
you gotta watch 13th. You gotta watch Friday, and you gotta learn the dang reactions.
I will do my level best.
Oh, that's clapping.
Yeah, that's clapping.
Now
That's
everyone's
clapping.
playing with the settings. All right, there you go.
But kind of back to the monument things.
Cool.
I think that there's a place for them in history, and I don't think we should just get rid of it.
No.
But I do think there needs to be a discussion about it for sure. And I think it's more meaningful if the city comes together and decides to remove these instead of them getting torn down, because they're just going to put them back. They're going to clean them up. They're going to put them back. Well, you didn't accomplish anything. You made yourself feel
Some
good
of
for
those
a few
statues
days.
were destroyed.
You
pretty
played
bad.
yourself.
It's a statue. They can make it again.
I know they can make another one, but I mean, it's just
They'll
like
make another one.
it's
Bro, they
To
got
me, it's
3D printing now. They had that mug back up there next week.
right. To me, it's kind of like just say like the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Because it's a real thing, but it's actually like kind of a fake thing.
It's a decentralized movement. It doesn't have an actual organization technically.
Right. And it wasn't actually started by black people. It was started by George Soros, and I can't remember exactly right. He's the owner of something, but it doesn't actually have a face because there is no leader of the Black Lives movement, and it actually includes way too many people.
Yeah, I agree with that, because one problem that does plague the Black Lives Matter movement is because it's decentralized. There is no actual like board or anything like that. Is anyone who says they're a Black Lives Matter activist is immediately taken as this is what all Black Lives Matter believes. So they could say the most random stuff, not random, but the most crazy stuff that most of the people that are trying to represent Black Lives Matter or pushing for change don't agree with. And then all of a sudden, like, someone who's a critic of Black Lives Matter picks them up and says, this is what they all believe. This is why you should cancel Black Lives Matter.
Isn't that Republican Party too?
I wasn't going to point finger, but I'm just saying. The critics
not
of
everybody
that
believes in what their leader
grabs
believes,
and they try to radicalize it for their group to say this is why you should cancel.
So here's one thing that I would say about why I feel like, because I did want to touch on this. Why do you guys feel like that this time is different? And the reason why I feel like this time is different, because I watched some videos from Watts riots and the LA riots and some of the civil rights movement, segregation stuff. You did not see the level or the participation of white Americans. That wasn't there. Yes. You see 4 or 5, if you go back and look at like some of the Vietnam stuff, they was out there for that.
You guys should look up Jane Fonda.
I believe it when I see it.
Interesting stuff about her history.
You believe when you see what?
The change.
I know. I'm saying, but I mean,
different no matter what.
You can't deny that. When I'm seeing on the news that Lebanon, Missouri, it's got 30, 40 people, all white people, holding signs up about Black Lives Matter in Lebanon, bruh. Come on.
In Colombia, one of my friends was marching in the Black Lives Matter.
Getting paid. Colombia's
a little bit more diverse.
Yeah, because Black Lives Matter has a major cash flow.
You saying the kids in Lebanon getting paid to do that?
Like gotta get that PlayStation 5 somehow.
Did you see?
like you see the black guys at the Trump rally?
Did you see the Amish people doing it too?
No, really?
Yes,
they over in Dubai. In Dubai,
yeah, Dubai.
I've seen Black Lives Matter. Ain't no black people in Dubai.
Right. So check this out.
The black people that go there to spend money, yeah, it is.
Beyonce.
Who? P. Diddy and Beyonce.
Jay-Z.
What are you saying, Reese?
Check this out. Okay.
It ain't Reese. It ain't Reese. It's anonymous.
It's
darkness.
Darkness.
I have that outline right now. If you're
change my screen
on
to
SoundCloud or somewhere else, podcast station, you got to watch this on YouTube because you won't understand everything we're talking about.
Right.
So, check this out. So all these people are getting together, and we haven't seen this exact iteration of what's going on right now. But what do you want? I can see all the protesting, I can see all the people marching, I can see all of this stuff that's going on. But if the laws don't get changed, if the laws don't get changed, you have to have a plan. Right now, I don't see a plan. The marching is one thing. The protesting is one thing.
I feel like there's plans.
What is the plan?
Okay. I'm like, what are you looking at, bro? I mean, they're asking for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They have an actual
plan.
I
was telling you from Congress.
They have an actual plan.
Yeah.
I mean, I
sent that in the group.
has it made it to the steps that it needs to make?
Yes.
It won't make it through until Trump's out of office.
They're talking about it in Congress.
Well, Congress is one thing, but the Senate and the president are another.
Whoa, I'm talking about, we ain't got to talk about them people. I'm talking about on the state level, and that's where it counts.
Yeah, it is where it counts.
It doesn't matter what them people in the Senate and the House do in the White House. It don't fucking matter. When you have the state of Mississippi, Republican led,
follow the money.
Shut up.
That's your cancel message.
I know.
Cancel it.
When they vote,
it's a victory.
When they vote to change the flag, I don't care if it's money driven or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. If you're going to do the change, then do it. I'm not going to slap your hand because you're willing to do something. I don't care who the fuck made you do it. I don't care.
I would
make the change.
It's getting done.
I kind of want to reinforce that a little bit
because that's the thing. That's the thing, Reese. Like I said, and a lot of people been saying this. Why are you always so quick to slap the hand down when the guy is giving you an olive branch? They're not gonna hand you the whole tree. You know that.
Yeah, and
unless they got a noose on the end of it, you know that.
You need to be happy with. You don't win the war in one battle.
The words you say, Joel, is not right. You don't need to be happy.
I'm not saying happy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what
you need
to.
You
said happy.
You
need to be accepting. You need to be accepting of what's happening, and you don't let your foot off the gas.
Acknowledge that you won a battle in the war is what I'm trying to say.
The small things, man.
Accept that. I mean, I say you can be happy you won I'll say you can be happy you won a battle, but you still know you got more to go. I mean that's take your victories when you get them. And besides, even if we don't get everything that we want to create people where everyone is treated equally.
Said a battle.
Yeah, it's an analogy. Okay.
It's a chip.
It's not a battle
chip.
pass.
It's a crumb. It's a crumb.
But even then, everything at this point, everything is a step forward. It's not. It should not be a step back.
And as we move forward, I mean, if you have more people recognizing that, that things are not right, and actually taking steps to say, okay, wait, maybe let me step back and talk to some of these astronauts about what's going on in space.
Let me see episode 1, season 3.
Let me figure out what's going on and understand it a little bit better. I'm going to actually take some time and take a look at this. And if this pandemic was not happening, this wouldn't be happening. George Floyd would have been another guy that about 40 or 50 people marched for, maybe 200, and it would have went away.
I don't know.
Everybody's watching. America's watching. Their eyes are open.
Everybody's at home.
Everybody's watching at home.
What did you just say? If the pandemic didn't happen, this George Floyd thing.
I don't know. I feel like it would have happened anyway.
I don't know about that.
He didn't say not the George Floyd. He's saying
people wouldn't have marched.
George Floyd wouldn't have happened.
I'm saying no. I said
disagree with that.
I said the marching and the amount of people that are protesting wouldn't have happened.
I don't know. I feel like it's
hold on, Joe. There's nothing else.
I disagree.
There's nothing else to distract you right now. There's no football. There's no baseball. There's no basketball.
I know where you're coming from.
Hold on. The only thing you see is what's going on. So when you see hold on, man, let me finish. So when you see all this stuff going on, and you're not like me, you're not me, you're Joel. So everybody.
Why do I gotta be the guy?
Because you're the guy. Because like I said, you said to yourself that you've seen things that you never thought you would have seen out of your friends, and it opened your eyes up to some stuff. Because now everybody's commenting on it, everybody's talking about it, everybody's saying something about it, and you start doing unsolicited research is what I like to call it, because it's on your Instagram feed, it's on your Facebook feed, and then you want to go, wait a minute, I don't know if that's true or not. Let me go look it up. So now you got this unsolicited fact checking that you're doing, and now you're like, wait a minute, this is jacked up. Holy shit! Look at all these people that got killed this year. Oh man, look at all these people that got choked out. Look at this. So the more of this input you get, you're like, wait a minute, these astronauts wasn't bullshitting. Space is fucked up. So like I said. It ain't a maybe.
I know where you're coming from.
If I gotta go to work, hold on.
But there was a video. You're missing the video with the knee on the dude's throat.
I'm not missing.
No.
I know where he's coming from. You're saying that if we had more distractions, we wouldn't have been paying as much attention.
I'm saying if you gotta go to work and you taking care, got to take the kids daycare and all that stuff, you don't have the time to absorb this information. You might glance over it, but you're not going to absorb it like you can now.
I don't know.
Mike
I
and Joey,
almost don't
what's
want to
the-
take it away from the
Wait,
community.
what's the
though.
difference? What's the difference between now and 4 years ago when Kaepernick was saying the same exact thing?
I just
Too
told
many.
you.
You had too
I
many
just told you.
distractions.
I just
That's
told
a
you.
video.
What Brian just said.
I just told you.
No, the
a
same
video.
thing. The
You
same thing
can't
was going on back
you
then.
can't match what Kaepernick
Yes, you
said to a
can.
video.
Hold
To
on.
a video?
What about
He-
Philando Castile
Philando
getting shot in
Castile.
his car? That was completely
That
With-
was
with his-
completely effed
with
up.
his girlfriend to
And
the
daughter
right
in the back.
and his
baby
daughter in the back
in
seat.
the back seat.
It was on video. Them guys got
That-
off.
or Tamir Rice, or Trayvon Martin, Trayvon,
They
I
got
can
off.
go on and on and on.
I just don't want to
Well,
So this is
th-
where I
those-
don't want to do.
Though actually you naming some of those live different situations.
Nope.
No, they are not different
Nope.
situations.
This is a man. This is a man pinned to the ground with his knee on his throat.
Mike,
He can't do nothing, bro.
He wasn't
how
fighting
is it-
him either.
How is that different from a guy sitting in his car with his
Sterling.
hands like this, saying,
Michael Sterling.
"Hey, I got a gun over here," and the guy says, "Don't touch it." He said, "Where's it at?" He's like, "It's
a
over
big
here."
difference.
Well, he
Hold
was
on,
actually. He's
hold
like,
on.
"Do you have
That's
your
a big
papers on
difference.
it or whatever?"
He said, "I have a permit. I got my gun right here." And he's like, "Don't reach for it." He's like, "I'm not reaching for it. It's right here." Pow, 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 pow.
That's a big difference, bro.
Then
That's a,
how's
it's
how's
a
it
big
different?
difference.
How's
It's a
it
big
different, Mike?
difference than the George Floyd thing, bro.
How?
I don't feel like it's that different, but
You shooting somebody who got their
George Floyd
hands
don't
in the
got-
air?
George
You
Floyd
shoot
don't have a
somebody
gun. He
who's-
didn't have a gun.
It don't fucking matter. It's legal to have a gun in America, dude. What the fuck you talking about?
And he
He
had his
still didn't have a
papers.
gun.
He did
And
have
he
a
had
gun.
his
It don't
papers.
fucking matter.
Oh, so George Floyd had a gun.
It don't
No.
matter what George Floyd had. It don't matter what Philando Castile had. He was shot unnecessarily, killed unnecessarily in front
he
of his
was
child
following
and
the
wife.
law.
He was following orders.
And he was
I
an
George
understand
NRA
what
member.
Floyd-
I understand
George
what you're
Floyd
saying.
was following orders. He was
I
killed in
understand
the
what you're
same manner.
saying.
The
It was
manner
wrong.
how they were
It-
killed
It's not
doesn't
the
matter.
same manner. It's not
It
the
doesn't
same
matter.
manner,
The
bro.
manner of how they were killed don't matter. It don't matter.
I
Shot,
It
think
ain't the same manner,
choked
though.
out.
the
It
one
don't
thing
matter.
I don't want to do though is I don't want to take anything away from the communities that are fed up because they've been looking at what I felt like why this built up so
I'm not
much.
taking anything away from them. I'm saying
Yeah.
that the reason that they're aware now is because they have time to absorb
I
the
think it's
information.
maybe the people who are not black, the other racial communities are probably able to absorb it more. You're right in that aspect, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it also is still, I mean, every year we have to see video after video after video of a black man being killed by the police, and it's obviously not anything called for. They weren't fighting them, they weren't doing all this shit, and it seems like
Unwarranted.
it's just a straight up murder. And you know, we had Breonna Taylor, we had obviously George Floyd, and we had multiple others, but it's just like I felt like the community got fed up again, and it's like they were fed up with Trayvon Martin, obviously, and they were fed up with oh gosh, the guy in Ferguson. My mind's drawing a blank.
Michael Brown.
Michael Brown.
Michael Brown. And Michael Brown was a big tipping point, I felt like, you know, especially for the state, because it was huge in Missouri, and it got a lot of national attention. And I think that this movement obviously is building off of that, because that's when Black Lives Matters got started, was around Michael Brown.
Yeah.
So this has been building for a long time, and I don't want to say that, you know, this would not have been as big of a deal if we didn't have sports and stuff like that. I mean, it's still a huge deal, but I agree with you that it has probably garnered more steam because we don't have sports. Because honestly, a lot of guys would been a bit home, going, I'm watching the NBA Finals during this time if that was still going
Right.
on, you know.
And
So
when
what-
you go ahead,
What's the difference? Okay, so do you remember? I think it was Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. The black cop. He was.
I was just about to
was-
talk about that.
He was African, if I'm not mistaken.
He's black.
But
He's a black American.
okay, black American that killed the white lady.
The lady called and said that she thought there was a prowler. She came. He was getting out of the car, and she popped up out of somewhere, and he shot her. And he was like, "Oh my God!" Like dropped his gun, called it in, rendered aid. They did an investigation. He basically turned himself in, and he went to jail.
So that is a little bit messed up because he actually was like, "Oh my God!" Called 911, rendered aid. I mean, I think you should discipline him because of what had happened. There's no doubt.
I mean, what he did was wrong.
Yeah, but
but
if a cop,
he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Michael Brown
he obviously was surprised
Michael Brown
and
wasn't
made a
rendered
bad
aid.
decision.
Michael Brown wasn't rendered aid.
No.
Philando Castile wasn't rendered aid. George Floyd
The
wasn't
guy
rendered
in
aid.
Atlanta. The guy in Atlanta. What's his name?
The guy at the Wendy's was not rendered aid.
Yeah, the guy.
None of them were rendered aid.
Yeah,
and
it was was like they didn't care. They killed them. Is the
problem.
They
in my opinion, they knew they fucked up, and they just was like, "Oh, what do I do now?" That was a panic mode, because honestly, when you be in formal law enforcement, when you think that moment has come, you've already made that decision in your head before it happens. You're like, I might have to take somebody's life tonight. My very first call I went on, that was a major call, was a guy who shot his son and was trying to kill the other son. So
I remember this.
On my way over there, I'm already thinking to myself, now this dude just killed his own son. Do you think he get two fucks about me?
I remember this.
Nope. I had to go in there and take care of business. He came outside. You know, we ordered him on the ground. He got on the ground, and I can still, like, this dude was so big, we took 2 sets of handcuffs to handcuff him. And I'm sitting there watching him while other people are clearing the house. And I can remember thinking to myself, I was this close to shooting this guy, because I'm standing on this side of him. He's walking towards another officer. Another deputy. He's telling him to get on the ground. He's not stopping. He's just walking. I had my finger on the trigger. I was about to drop that dude, and he just went down to the ground. But I had already decided that if he made that judgment to hurt one of us, I was going to kill him.
Well, that's the thing.
I was not in a mode of, let's take this guy into custody because something's wrong with him. No, I was not in that mode. And
did that scare you, thinking like that?
At the time, no. Later on, thinking about it
backwards. Yeah,
thinking about it backwards, it's like, damn, I almost had to kill somebody. As I went further along in my career, it became more of a easier process to deal with. But I still had to make those decisions based on what was happening. I was on the SWAT team. I was first man through the door.
That's deep.
Went through a door to this. First man, second man yells gun. The guy goes down. I follow him down. He comes back up. His hands are up. I didn't shoot him. They watched my helmet cam, and my director said, my team leader says, "Why didn't you shoot him?" And I said, "Because he wasn't a threat." And they go, "What? He wasn't a threat?" I was like, "No, he wasn't pointing that gun really at me. He's pointing at the door." As far as I know, he thought we was somebody breaking in. We're no knock warrant. We come through this dude's door like gangbusters. He said, and he even said to me, he said, "I was about to start shooting, but y'all was making so much noise, I knew y'all was the cops."
We need to talk that. We need to have that topic, no knock warrants on the next podcast.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. We're running out of time though.
Be quiet.
We should leave that on the topic for next, because we need to talk about all the things they're asking for changing, because it's the database, the no knock warrants, reform, training, all that stuff.
I don't think they need to go away.
Okay, well then it's going to be an interesting debate. We'll have to go with that. Anyways, so
I think they should.
Of course you do, because you're a Chiefs fan. You're a clown.
Lean on me.
It's all good though. All right, but anyways, so I set us up with a SoundCloud account, so you can now listen to our podcast audio on SoundCloud. This is our next step into getting into Apple Podcasts. I'm sorry, the process seems insanely complicated, and maybe I'm overthinking it. to get it in
Damn
the Apple
son,
Podcasts.
bitches.
It's really kind of crazy.
Right.
Actually, I have a coworker of mine who does another podcast. I'm just going to go ahead and plug him because he does a podcast for overcoming challenges and stuff like that. I'm going to pull up his thing real quick. Where did I have it?
Overcoming
Sweet.
challenges.
Yeah, he has
Of life.
Yeah, it's called Rise to the Challenge, and what he does is he goes and he interviews like baseball players, professional baseball players that are retired, or people who have been very successful in their career.
How come you didn't talk to me yet then?
I guess I haven't heard your name, but so he's got his an Apple podcast. He's got his on Spotify and so on and so forth. Actually, I go ahead and look at him. Give a listen to him. He does a really good job. Rise to the Challenge is the name of the podcast. Does he have a plan on interviewing of people rise to the challenge and stop being buster ass Chiefs fans? You know, he mentioned interviewing me, and he said, "Man, I just want to talk to some people who represent winners." So it was going to be a really, really short one. But no, it was, but no, he does a good job, and he's got some really interesting people he talks to, and that good conversations in there. So, anyways. But I'm going to probably try and get us onto Spotify as well and Apple Podcasts and so on and so forth. That way you can actually download or just listen to us in the car. But if you want to stay in touch with us, we have a Twitter. I'm going to put all those links down below in the description on our YouTube page. If you're watching this video, I've also been flashing them up during the video. Actually, let me go ahead. I'm just going to pull up. On Facebook, we are Fellas Forum. On Instagram, we are Fellas_Forum. On Twitter, you can get us at Forum Fellas. And on SoundCloud, we're just Fellas Forum. Just look for us on those platforms. So give us a like. Make sure you like the video because it helps the algorithm. And if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and you want to get notified about all the videos so you can stay up to date whenever we post. So
and if you think Mike needs to talk more, please tell us about that.
Yeah, tweet at
Mike.
Shit. Tweet at Big Mike and say, hey,
crush that sucker.
You need to crush that sucker. And hey, but Big Mike's been dropping stuff in the chat. It's pretty great. Yeah, definitely.
Silent but deadly.
Oh my God.
And if you have questions about any of the things we talked about,
if y'all want to know why he holding up that 3, definitely hit it because it's funny as hell.
Right.
But yeah, definitely send us a message.
Oh my
and
God.
You can send us a message directly on Fellas Forum, on Instagram, so on and so forth.
Hey Mike, GG.
How crazy.
That'll work.
GG.
GG.
I guess we gotta do
GG.
see you laters. But thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.
Hey,
thanks for listening.
Cue the
Thank
music.
y'all. Thank y'all. Fellas.
All
right.
right.
JQ.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me get.
We gotta.
All right, hang on.
Outro. No outro.
Gotta get
How
the
we gonna
outro.
say? We can't say.
Man,
GG
I like putting
if
it
you
in
got
the post though. The post is so much easier than just doing it like this. I mean,
that is the words of a technical guru that we don't care about.
all right, fine. There you go. Now you guys have to watch these guys dance. Unless you're on SoundCloud, you're just like,
Nope.
We don't have to watch none of it.
No, that was a song. That's a song, man.
Yeah. And this is just a plug. The artist on this one. This song is called "Nasty" by Rujay.
I'm gonna play some of my stuff next time. Y'all probably heard most of my stuff.
What up, Rujay? Appreciate it.
Yeah. Simonsayz.
I got it up pretty loud. I don't know if anyone can hear you. I'll turn it back down.
These suckers louder than anything. They can hear them.
I'm live in the basement.
Big Mike.
What y'all know about that? Is that fade in, fade out?
Is that what you do? I gotta snag that shot. That's going on the Instagram.
I faded out a long time ago.
You want to put something on there? Put this on there. Gold blooded, baby.
Gold blood.
Hey,
That's like a condition.
It is a condition of winning.
What'd you say, Reed?
Black out his screen.
Black out his screen the whole time.
Yeah.
Bro, you got an STL shirt on, man. What are you thinking?
I don't know. What happened to your cowboy stuff? Oh, he's dancing.
Baseball, man.
Baseball
He
canceled.
rapping.
Baseball's canceled.
I don't do Kansas City Royals.
He said baseball is canceled.
Baseball's
You say you don't do Kansas City Royals.
Literally though, Major League Baseball got canceled. This whole
You
season.
just had on Kansas City Royals last week at
Yeah.
Isaac graduation.
I wear the Royals, but that's
Wait, you're turncoat. You're such a turncoat.
Yeah, he had a hat on. He had a Royals hat on.
I'm not a baseball fan, but if I had to choose one, it would be St. Louis.
Yeah, okay.
Hey.
Whatever.
I've been to more St. Louis games than I have Kansas City.
He has his
Hey,
bandwagon
so he's
here. We'll just say that. All right.
No, hey. I'm gonna tell you about Young Todd.
For baseball, yeah.
All right,
Max
well,
Not a baseball fan.
see y'all later.
The Royals
Peace.
crap Mass out.
Peace.
Peace. Holla.
And for Reese's